All right, I've been watching what's been going on in North Carolina, and I think people are kind of mistaken about what FEMA actually does. They kind of have the idea that FEMA is going to come in and straighten this stuff out. That isn't what FEMA does. They're always late. They don't. If they come right away, they just get in the way. They're really nothing but a problem. Dealing with them is nothing but a problem. But you have to understand, they aren't going to come in there with cranes and, that isn't how it works. FEMA is composed of bookkeepers. If you want somebody to use a shovel, you don't call FEMA. If you want somebody to stand around with a clipboard, FEMA is your guy. What they are is mostly retired civil servants that have been paper pushers all their life. They're just clerks. And so they come in and just snowball you with endless amounts of paperwork. We don't have that kind of a problem here, but I've had to deal with them in the past with, like the land around here is sectioned. It's like a checkerboard. There's a road every mile. And we get overland flooding and it takes the roads out. And when that happens, I had to go and fix these roads. But in order to do this, I had to deal with FEMA a lot. So you get these cats out of California who have no idea, no comprehension of a road at all. They were like housing inspectors or something, but they had worked for the government before and they knew paperwork. So that's what it was. Start doing paperwork. When I wanted to be out fixing roads. And then they're like I say, very difficult to deal with. But they pull into a place, they take up resources that are in a demand at that time. They really, like I say, they get in the way. They really don't do any good until later, down the road. You will perhaps be reimbursed for some of the repairs you had to make. That's all. But you got to jump through a lot of hoops. I really just like working with them people. And like I say, they just bring these people in completely with no knowledge of what has went on or nothing that's actually on the ground. They don't understand at all. But they're federal or ex-federal employees, so they understand red tape. So they load you up with it. And the aggravating part too is that, like, they had a couple of these cats that came in, so I spent way too much time dealing with these people. And then they move on to another township. And finally, people got so fed up with them, they complained so much to FEMA, FEMA fired them and brought in some other cats. But what happened when they fired them, then all of a sudden, all the paperwork disappeared, had to go through and do everything all over again. And you always have to do that stuff in like triplicate, because if they don't lose it, they are going to come back to you as an audit sometime down the road. Could be up to like 7 years later, they can come back to audit. They will. And if you can't show all the receipts and all this stuff again, they're going to ask for whatever money they gave you, they want it back. Just very difficult people to deal with. But like I said, it's because they don't understand anything of what's going on. And So like these people down south where they pull into town and make a nuisance of themselves, trying to help people, all they're doing is paperwork. I mean, they could do this over the internet. In fact, a lot of them, they would set up in weird places. They want you to use the app, don't actually go and pester them, use the app. But then down south where they, all of a sudden they say, truckloads of militia are coming after FEMA. Well, it turned out it was one guy got a little out of balance and had said something that they took as a threat. So they pulled them all out, because there's nothing the government is more afraid of than militias. They said, oh, militias are running the towns. Well, somebody's got to do it. Somebody, because a lot of these, it was, even the sheriffs were running FEMA people out because they were getting in the way. They're not handy people to have around. They don't go and clean things up. They actually make things rather complicated. But like I say, in the meantime, they're taking up every hotel room, every rental car. It's like, for those people, like I say, they're retired. They get this job with FEMA. It's like a vacation for them. Like these cats I had to deal with for a while, they were partying and gambling all night. They come dragging in the morning, then try to get something done. But like I say, just paperwork. That's all they do. There ain't no actual work being performed by them. It's unfortunate because work could have been done, by the National Guard. That's like when they have people signing up to be in your state National Guard. The idea originally was, this was to help your neighbors, and this was the idea that people get into this, and then they ship you off overseas. I think there was a pile of them from Tennessee that just got shipped over in the Middle East. They kind of could have used them. There's some use for those people, but no. That stuff really needs to be handled on a state level or even county level, but bringing the feds in at that point in the game doesn't do anybody any good. But they're terrified of militias. Which goes along with their program because they want to make militias illegal. So that makes sense, that they're working that way. But it was a big to-do about nothing. But it gave them a reason, they got to go back to their hotels, kick back for a while. Useless bunch of people, really. I have a very poor opinion of FEMA, but that stuff's got to be handled on a local level by people who actually have some understanding. That's why a lot of it was being done by local companies, contractors that have experience with this, running heavy equipment and stuff. And your fire departments and your sheriff's office, they could do some good. The feds are useless in that. And people do not appreciate them butting in. They want to play hero, but they just get in the way. Well,